Primary sclerosing cholangitis. Sclerosing cholangitis is a spectrum of cholestatic conditions characterized by patchy inflammation, fibrosis, and destruction of intra and extrahepatic biliary tract. It's a chronic and progressive disease from biliary obstruction to biliary cirrhosis and hepatic failure. The cholangiographic appearance of diffusely structuring and segmental dilatation of the biliary system. PSC is associated with fibrotic, autoimmune, and infiltrative diseases. The secondary sclerosing cholangitis happens as a consequence of a non-pathogenesis or injury. Primary sclerosing cholangitis. It's a diffuse intra and extrahepatic bile duct strictures occurring in the absence of prior biliary surgery, cholelithiasis, and after exclusion of cholangiocarcinoma. Though these conditions can happen on the background of a PSC, like a cholelithiasis or cholangiocarcinoma, it will be difficult to diagnose a case of primary sclerosing cholangitis. Small duct PSC involves only intrahepatic biliary tract involvement without obvious extrahepatic duct abnormalities. Cholelithiasis and choledocholithiasis and cholangiocarcinoma do not always exclude PSC as those conditions coexist or occur as complications, as previously mentioned. Multifocal structuring and ectasia of the biliary tract, areas of narrowing are interspaced with areas of normal or near normal caliber and of post-stenotic dilatation. 87% involve both intra and extrahepatic ducts. Classification. PSC associations include IBD, that is both UC and Crohn's, other systemic diseases with fibrosis, autoimmune collagen vascular diseases, alloimmune diseases, infiltrative diseases, and immunodeficiency diseases. Which are the common systemic diseases with fibrosis that are usually associated with PSC are mediastinal fibrosis, inflammatory pseudotumor, retroperitoneal fibrosis, renal thyroiditis, and pseudotumor of orbit. The autoimmune cholangiocarcinoma diseases that are usually associated with PSC are autoimmune hemolytic anemia, celiac disease, membrane nephropathy, rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis, rheumatoid arthritis, SLE, Sjogren's disease, and type 1 diabetes. The alloimmune diseases are hepatic allograft rejection, hepatic graft versus host disease after bone marrow transplant. The commonly associated infiltrative diseases include hypereosinophilic syndrome, histiocytosis X, sarcoidosis, and systemic macrocytosis. The immunodeficiency diseases usually associated can be divided into congenital and acquired. Congenital are combined immunodeficiencies, X-linked agammaglobulinemia and dysgammaglobulinemia. Acquired includes AIDS, opportunistic infection, and selective IgA deficiency. MRCP is specific for PSC. The sensitivity is 86% with a specificity of 94%. And ERCP for diagnosis if therapeutic intervention is planned in a patient. And for asymptomatic patients, MRCP is the gold standard for diagnosis. Secondary sclerosing cholangitis, they usually caused by obstructive causes, toxic causes, ischemic causes, and neoplastic. Obstructive include autoimmune pancreatitis, biliary parasites, Caroli's disease, choledocholithiasis, chronic pancreatitis, congenital both cystic fibrosis as well as choledochal cyst, and surgical strictures. Recurrent pyogenic cholangitis is also one of the associations of can cause secondary sclerosing cholangitis. Toxic causes include intra-arterial fluoxetine, intraductal formaldehyde or hypertonic saline used for treatment of echinococcus. Ischemic include hepatic allograft arterial occlusion, paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria, toxic vasculitis, and vascular trauma. Neoplastic include cholangiocarcinoma, HCC, lymphoma, and METS. The various differential diagnoses for primary sclerosing cholangitis includes secondary sclerosing cholangitis that can happen because of the previously mentioned causes like obstructive, toxic, ischemic, and neoplastic causes. The second differential diagnosis is AIDS cholangiopathy that happens when the CD4 count is less than 100. Primary biliary cholangitis also is a common differential for primary sclerosing cholangitis. The differentiating features include a middle-aged female with no IBD association and AMA positivity. Autoimmune hepatitis that also happens in females commonly, hepatocellular picture of the lab parameters and increased gamma globulins with increased ANA, ASMA and steroid responsiveness also differentiates between the autoimmune hepatitis. Other differential is IgG4 cholangitis with 4 times the level of IgG4 normal values. You suspect IgG4 cholangitis. Coming to the epidemiology, the incidence is reported to be 0.9 to 1.3 per 1 lakh population and prevalence is 8.5 to 13.6 per 1 lakh population. This is in the Western population. The commonest age group involved is 25 to 45 years. The median age of usual occurrence is 41 years and 70% are males. With a subset without IBD, the females have a preponderance with 0.7 to 1 female. PSC and IBD. 90% of the PSC have concomitant IBD and PSC is present in 2.4 to 4% of UC patients and 1.4 to 3.4% of TONS patients. PSC with IBD, the 85 to 90% have UC. The rest is Crohn's or idiocolitis. The prevalence of PSC is 5.5% with pancolitis and 0.5 with distal colitis. Both these conditions progress independently and concomitant IBD have an earlier age of onset with increased rate of cancer, increased rate of liver transplantation and increased mortality. Coming to the pathogenesis, it can be there is a strong genetic association attributed to PSC. The overrepresentation of HLA-B8 and DR3 has been proposed as a genetic mechanism and strongly associated with HLA-B8, DRB3, B1, B5, DQA101, B102 or 06. Protective are DRB4, DQA103, B103 or 04. And strongest association is with HLA class 1 or 3 and the chromosome involved is 6p21. DQ2, DR3 increases the risk of liver transplantation and death and DQ6 decreases the risk of disease progression. Association with polymorphism of MM3 is being proposed but no definite proof is found. Other pathogenic mechanisms include immunological factors. It happens, it is attributed as there is an association with other autoimmune diseases. Then biliary epithelial cells both act as both trigger and target for the immune-mediated injury. Infections and other toxic factors, AIDS cholangiopathy, vascular factors, ischemia. Coming to the natural history of PSC, there are 4 phases of primary sclerosing cholangitis. First is the asymptomatic phase, where only cholangiographic evidence of sclerosing cholangitis is found. Second is the biochemical phase, in which the patient will be asymptomatic with biochemical abnormalities. That includes either increased alkaline phosphatase or increased serum bilirubin. Symptomatic phase, where symptoms of cholestasis are present, like pruritus, fatigue, and jaundice. The last phase is the decompensated cirrhotic phase or end-stage liver disease phase. The asymptomatic patients include 15 to 44% of the total primary sclerosing cholangitis, and symptoms develop in more than 50% over a period of 6 years. Symptomatic phase, the median survival from a symptomatic phase is 9 to 12 years without liver transplantation. And small duct PSC, this is an histological, biochemical, clinical features of primary sclerosing cholangitis, but with normal cholangiogram, in which only the intrahepatic biliary radicals are involved. The proportion of patients having only small duct PSC is 5 to 20%, and the survival is better compared to the classic PSC, and it has a decreased risk of developing cholangiocarcinoma in the future. There are some prognostic models for the prediction of survival and prognostic index. The commonest are the Mayo Clinic model, King's model, multi-center model, and revised Mayo model. The Mayo Clinic model includes age, bilirubin, histologic stage, hemoglobin, and IBD. The revised Mayo model includes age, bilirubin as the Mayo Clinic model, but the revised model it also includes albumin, AST, and varicose bleeding. The next model is the King's College model, which includes age, hepatomegaly, splenomegaly, histological stage, and alkaline phosphatase. There is another model known as the multi-center model, which includes age, bilirubin, histological stage, and splenomegaly. The only prognostic model which includes alkaline phosphatase is King's model, and histological staging is included in Mayo Clinic model, King's model, and multi-center model, but revised Mayo model doesn't have histological staging. CTP is also used as a prognostic model but is less accurate than the revised Mayo, which is the commonly used prognostic model. And the 7-year survival with CTP grades of A include 89.8%, B is 68%, and C is 25%. Now coming to the signs and symptoms, the commonest symptom is fatigue, that is seen in 66 to 75% of the patients. Abdominal pain is seen in 24 to 72% of the patients, and pruritus, which is seen in 15 to 69% of the patients. The other common symptoms include fever, night sweats, and weight loss. Most of the patients, as previously said, 15 to 44% of the patients can be asymptomatic. The commonest signs that are seen are jaundice, which is seen in 30 to 73%, hepatomegaly in 34 to 62%, splenomegaly in 32 to 34%. The other commonly seen are the hyperpigmentation and ascites. Coming to the lab parameters, increased alkaline phosphatase 3 to 5 times is the biochemical hallmark of primary sclerosing cholangitis, but normal levels can be seen in about 6% of the patients. ALT, AST can be elevated, but rarely goes above 4 to 5 times the upper limit of normal. Hyperbilirubinemia is seen, which is conjugated. Serum albumin values are lower, and prolongation of PT indicates an advanced liver disease or because of the malnutrition or advanced IBD. Cholestasis, the vitamin K malabsorption, increased serum copper or ceruloplasmin, increased hepatic copper levels, increased urinary copper excretion, and increased cholesterol levels can happen because of cholestasis. Other commonly seen biochemical abnormalities, hypergammaglobulinemia, in which the IgM, IgG, and IgA levels are increased. The ANA is positive in 24 to 53% of the patients. ASMA is positive in 13 to 20% of the patients. The AMA is positive only in less than 10% of the patients. PNCA, which is the most commonly found, 65 to 88%. ANNA, that is anti-neutrophil nuclear antibodies. Anti-cardiolipin antibody is seen in 66% of the patients. PNCA, though commonly found, the titer do not correlate with the severity, but anti-cardiolipin titers correlate with the severity of the disease. Coming to the imaging findings, cholangiography, either by ERCP, MRCP, or percutaneous transhepatic cholangiography, shows multifocal strictures with ectasia of the biliary tract, areas of narrowing interspersed with areas of normal or near normal caliber, and areas of post-stenotic dilatation. This is known as the beaded appearance of the bile duct. The strictured segments are short, annular, or band-like in appearance, and the localized segments of the bile ducts may have saccular or diverticular appearance. The dominant strictures, that are areas of focal or tight narrowing, often involve bifurcation of the hepatic duct. Cystic duct and GP may be involved in 15% of the cases. Coming to the pathology, grossly, if you see the extrahepatic bile duct, it appears diffusely thickened and fibrotic duct wall. Histology will show mixed inflammatory infiltrate with florid hyperplasia of the biliary gland. Neural proliferation is also seen. The histology of the liver shows fibroobliterative process, that is onion skin appearance of concentric fibrosis surrounding medium-sized bile duct. This is seen in less than 50% of the cases. Fibroobliterative cholangitis is another histologic finding, that is a smaller interlobular and septal bile duct branches obliteration that is seen in 5 to 10% of the cases, but this is pathognomic of PSC. Bile duct proliferation, periductal inflammation, and ductopenia are seen. The inflammation is usually with the plasma cells, lymphocytes, and neutrophils. There are 4 histological stages of PSC. The first one is the portal stage, periportal stage, septal stage, and cirrhotic stage. In the portal stage, the inflammation is confined to the portal tract. It includes a portal inflammation, connective tissue expansion, and cholangitis. In the periportal stage, that is the inflammation extending beyond the limiting plates, shows interface hepatitis, also known as piecemeal necrosis, and periportal fibrosis. Septal phase shows bridging necrosis, and cirrhotic phase shows features of cirrhosis. Time course of progression from second phase to third phase can happen with 42%, 66%, and 93% at 1, 2, and 5 years. And from second to fourth phase, progression happens 14%, 25%, and 52% at 1, 2, and 5 years. Now, coming to the complications of primary sclerosing cholangitis, first is the cholestasis. The commonest presentation is with pruritus. It happens because of the accumulation of bile acids in the plasma and tissue. Another pathogenic mechanism that is being attributed to the development of pruritus is increased level of endogenous opioids. And the pruritus in primary sclerosing cholangitis is frequently intermittent. Nutritional deficiencies, that happens because of the decreased intestinal absorption of fat, soluble vitamins like A, D, E, K, due to decreased concentration of conjugated bile acids. Other complication is hepatic osteodystrophy, that is osteomalacia and osteoporosis. The pathogenesis of this hepatic osteodystrophy is unknown, and it's not the primary mechanism, is not the malabsorption of vitamin D. Biliary stones, cholelithiasis and choledocholithiasis happens in 25% of the cases. Pigmented calcium bilirubinate stones are seen. Biliary strictures predisposed to bile stasis and intraductal sludge and stone formation. Cholangiocarcinoma arise from the bile duct epithelium anywhere in the biliary tract, and the risk of development is 10 to 15%. Common location is common hepatic duct and perihilar region. It's a leading cause of death in PSC, and the pathogenesis is attributed to the chronic inflammation and role of pro-inflammatory cytokines. Alkaline phosphatase normal levels are protective, and rapid clinical deterioration should be suspicious of the development of carcinoma. The common risk factors for the development of cholangiocarcinoma include IBD, varicose hemorrhage, cirrhosis, alcohol use, dominant strictures with concomitant IBD. Tumor markers, CA19-9 has a sensitivity of 89% and specificity of 86% for values more than 100. For more than 1000, the tumor marker has a correlation with the tumor stage. So more than 1000 shows is highly specific for unresectability of the tumor. There is a biochemical calculation for detecting the cholangiocarcinoma, that is CA99 plus CEA into 40, more than 400 value, has a high specificity, 85%, and a low sensitivity to show the risk of cholangiocarcinoma. ERCP with brush cytology has sensitivity of 50 to 60%, plus endobiliary biopsy or FNA increases sensitivity. EUS plus FNA, the sensitivity goes up to 89%, and the cholangioscopy with ERCP, the sensitivity is more than 90%, that is 92%. Median survival post-diagnosis is usually 5 months, and a contraindication to liver transplantation. Increased duration of IBD is a risk factor, and some recommend annual screening with ultrasound or MRCP plus CA99 levels. The risk of GB malignancy is 3 to 14% in patients, and HCC in patients with cirrhosis. Coming to the next complication, colonic neoplasia. The duration and extent of the disease are the strongest risk factors. Pancolitis, the risk of developing colonic neoplasm is 5 to 10% at 20 years and 12 to 20% after 30 years. The risk increases with concomitant PSC, and if the patient has UC with PSC, the risk at 10 years, 20 years, and 25 years is 9%, 31%, and 50%, which is much more than the presence of UC alone. Mechanism includes high colonic concentration of secondary bile acids. Though by this mechanism, UDCA should be chemoprotective, studies have shown variable results, hence it's not recommended as a chemoprotective agent. And surveillance once in 1 to 2 years in UC with PSC from the time of diagnosis. An interesting factor is there's an increased risk of right-sided colonic carcinoma in patients with UC and concomitant PSC, that is 76%. But in patients with UC alone, the right-sided colonic cancers contribute only 20%. Peristomal varices. Varices at stoma may develop with PSC and portal hypertension who have previously undergone proctocolectomy with ileostomy for IBD. The treatment modalities for these peristomal varices include injection sclerotherapy, percutaneous transhepatic coil embolization, surgical stoma revision, and TIPS. Now, coming to the treatment of PSC, there is no medical treatment which has shown clearly to alter the course of the disease. UDCA exert a beneficial effect: protection of cholangiocytes against cytotoxic hydrophobic bile acid, stimulation of hepatobiliary secretion, protection of hepatocytes against bile acid induced apoptosis, and induction of antioxidants. But UDCA at any dose is not recommended for treatment, as there is no proven studies to show its beneficial effect in the survival. The other treatment modalities that has not shown any proven benefit include cholestyramine, glucocorticoids, methotrexate, cyclosporine, tacrolimus, dipenicillamine, colchicine, even after multiple studies. Medical treatment for complications. For pruritus, antihistamines, anion exchange resins like cholestyramine, cholestyramine, cholesevelam, rifampicin, opiate antagonists like naloxone, naltrexone, plasmapheresis, and refractory cases, liver transplantation. Correction of nutritional deficiencies, that includes a fat-soluble vitamin replacement, bacterial cholangitis, where the antibiotic prophylaxis for patients planned for biliary intervention, including ERCP and percutaneous transhepatic cholangiography, 5 to 7 day course of antibiotics with either cephalosporin, fluoroquinolones, or beta-lactamase inhibitors. If the patient has recurrent cholangitis, long-term prophylaxis is indicated with rotating antibiotics of 3 to 4 week cycle, which includes amoxicillin clavulanic acid, ciprofloxacin, and Cetran. Endoscopic management. Relief. This treatment modality relieves symptoms, improve biochemical cholestasis, and decrease the frequency of episodes of cholangitis. Likely to benefit in patients with one or more dominant strictures, but no benefits has been seen for diffusely intrahepatic stricturing or without any dominant stricture. Dilatation with balloon or graduated dilators with or without temporary placement of the biliary stent. Progression of the underlying disease may be slowed by the endoscopic therapy for this dominant stricture. But this treatment modality has limitations with complications such as pancreatitis, cholangitis, worsening of cholestasis, and perforation that can occur at an overall rate of 7.3 to 10%. Percutaneous management, recommended only when the endoscopic intervention is contraindicated or unsuccessful. Coming to the surgical management, the resection of the dominant stricture of the bile duct or near the hepatic bifurcation followed by the hepaticojejunostomy or choledochojejunostomy is the surgical treatment of choice, rarely indicated and reserved for small subset who have early PSC and biliary strictures, not amenable to endoscopic or percutaneous intervention. Coming to the only treatment that has shown survival benefit, that is the liver transplantation, is recommended for patients with PSC in whom develop decompensated cirrhosis and portal hypertension. Rare indications include recurrent cholangitis and refractory pruritus. Roux-en-Y choledochojejunostomy instead of choledochostomy to allow removal of as much of native biliary tract as possible and to reduce the risk of recurrent strictures. The survival rates after liver transplantation include 93.7, 86.4, and 69.8 at 1 year, 5 year, and 10 year, and the graft survival is also good at 83.4%, 79%, and 60.5% at 1 year, 5 year, and 10 year. The poor prognostic factors after liver transplantation includes older age, decreased serum albumin, renal failure, CTP-C, and UNOS status which is advanced. Cholangiocarcinoma is seen as a contraindication for liver transplantation as the survival rates of those patients who are having a cholangiocarcinoma after liver transplantation is less than compared with the when the patient doesn't have any cholangiocarcinoma. That is, at 1 year it is 65 to 82% and drastically drops to 35 to 42% at 5 years. The recurrence of biliary strictures post transplant represent recurrence of PSC, but the other causes can also result in the recurrence of biliary stricture other than the recurrence of PSC, which include ABO incompatibility, hepatic artery occlusion, chronic ductopenic graft rejection, Roux-en-Y cholangitis, and failed preservation related ischemia. The diagnosis of recurrence of PSC is considered when these risk factors are absent and when there is a non-anastomotic stricture with compatible liver histology. The risk of development of recurrence of PSC is 5.7 to 21%. Thank you.